billed as the biggest midterm election in a generation here in Michigan and around the nation.
And tonight, our resources are out in full force. I think every piece of equipment. We have crews all over the state, from West Michigan to Lansing to Detroit. We will take you around the mitten throughout the evening.
West Michigan voters are doing their part, making their voices heard. Turnout is expected to be closer to what we see during a presidential election.
24-hour News 8's Tom Hill, and hey, he's been tracking the voter turnout today, and he joins us live in Grand Rapids with what he's been seeing out there. Tom?
Hey, good evening, Brian. Yes, we have seen high voter turnout across the area this morning, into this afternoon, and now into this evening. We're at the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church on the northeast side. We've been seeing a very steady stream of those after-work voters coming in here. Their ballots. This precinct's seen one of the highest voter turnouts in the city. Everything here, though, been going very smoothly, and the chairperson of the precinct says the turnout seems much more along the lines of a presidential year. Now, we didn't see this type of turnout at every precinct that we went to. Here's what it looked like at the First Christian Reformed Church on the southeast side, where turnout there was very steady, but short lines. And then finally, one of the other precincts we stopped at was on the southwest side of the city, and we were there around 3 o'clock this afternoon, and they had only seen about a 16% turnout at Burton Elementary. Very slow when we were there, but still voters seeming very motivated.
I think it's really important to vote. It's a civic responsibility and a duty, but also a civic privilege. And yeah, every voice matters.
Get out and vote. It is very important. Even if you think you're not important, you are important.
Like some places saw early this morning, so it seemed to be a lot busier earlier in the day. But again, still that steady stream of voters coming in. Reminder that the polls are open until 8 o'clock tonight, so as long as you are in line by then, you can vote. Live in Grand Rapids, Tom Hill in 24-hour News 8.
Yeah, Tom, definitely we're hearing about higher turnout in a lot of precincts all over West Michigan. Thanks for that tonight. The city of Grand Rapids, in fact, they launched a new online tool to track how many people are voting and where. Emily Leonard's at the live desk with more on that. Em?
Well, Brian, when we checked in at 5 o'clock, we saw that GR was turning out at 38% of voters voting. We know at 3 o'clock this afternoon, they surpassed the 2014 numbers they saw for the midterm election. Let's take a look right now. You can see it's at nearly 45%. And as you look at the city of Grand Rapids and the different precincts, you can hover over these and see exactly where they're getting the largest turnout. Here at Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church, where we just saw Tom Hillen, 66% voter turnout. At Beckwith Hills Christian Reformed Church on Chelsea Road Northeast, 60%. We see some down here, the lighter blue numbers. Grand Rapids Community College MTech campus on Godfrey Southwest at 19%, so well below the average in the city of 44% voter turnout. Ottawa County, we talked to the clerk there. He says he estimates the turnout will be close to 70%, and that is much more like a presidential year than a midterm year. Brian and Sue?
Political reporter Rick Albin joining us now. Rick, we've been talking about this big November election for a long time. What about the voter turnout numbers?
If I had a crystal ball, I would love to tell you where they're coming from. Think about what we've talked about for the last 2 years, about the resistance, about the marches, about the enthusiasm from Democrats. But we've also seen the Republicans targeting their voters and really making an effort on getting out the vote in this election cycle. So, for example, when you go to some place like Ottawa County and you tell me you're going to turn out 70% of those voters, what does that mean? Well, let's go back to 4 years ago. This was the difference, 45,000 more votes for Republican Rick Snyder in Ottawa County. So if they're turning out at 70%, does the percent remain the same? Does a Bill Schuette perform as well as Rick Snyder, or is there something else going on in Ottawa County? Are Democrats somehow mobilizing in that reddest of red counties here in the state of Michigan? Those are some of the things we don't know. We also haven't heard about Wayne County and the turnout there, but that's always huge for any Democrat who wants to become governor. You can see the difference here. This was a 4.5-point race as it ended up about 4 points 4 years ago, but 146,000 votes more for the Democrat there. So if you do turn out more in Wayne County, if you do turn out more in Washington County and some of those, then the Republican has to make up elsewhere. We could go on. I could do it county by county by county, but we don't know where those voters are coming from. Now, let me give you a sense of what we've heard and what we think. We know the Democrats were motivated. We know that Democrats have continued to push and push and push because they've had some really disappointing mid-year elections over the past several years. And so we know that they've really been mobilizing, and you have to imagine that some of that anger and fear and all of those things we've seen for the last 2 years is pushing some of the vote. But don't overlook the fact that the RNC has been on the ground here too with their get out the vote. So until we start to see some numbers come in, it's going to be impossible to see where the enthusiasm is coming from.
All right, Rick.
You bet.
Rick, thank you.
Rick will be in studio all night long, but our team is out on the road.
Yeah, maybe we'll let him out for nourishment. We do have 10 reporters spread out all over the state of Michigan covering those big races. Of course, the one at the top of your ballot today, and that's the race for governor. Republican Attorney General Bill Schuette versus Democrat and former state senator Gretchen Whitmer.
Heather Walker and Evan Dean are with the candidates in Lansing and Detroit. We start in our state's capital, and Evan Dean, who just talked with Republican Bill Schuette moments ago. Evan?
Yeah, Brian, it's a good evening. Probably not a whole lot of nourishment for Bill Schuette either. He has been all over the state of Michigan today. Marquette, Livonia, now here, and some last-second campaigning. We went one-on-one with him just moments ago. Take a listen. We commissioned a poll about a week ago that showed you still behind Gretchen Whitmer, but you steadily closing the gap. Do you feel like your campaign has some momentum heading into this night?
Absolutely. The intensity I've seen in the past days as I've crisscrossed the state with this outstanding next Lieutenant Governor, Lisa Postumas-Lyons, is incredible. And the fact is that people answer this simple, direct question. Are you better off today than you were 8 years ago? The answer is yes. 8 years ago, we had 15% unemployment rate. Today, we have 4%. 8 years ago, people, 500,000 lost jobs. Now we're building jobs. So people don't want to go back because they're concerned and worried that if Gretchen Whitmer's governor, they'll lose their job.
There has been huge voter turnout. Our crew in studio just got done talking about it a few minutes ago. How does it impact this race? Why do you think that is, and how does it impact your campaign?
I think people are really intensified about making sure that Michigan goes forward, and all these polls never really measure things very well, and it's a jump ball right now. You're gonna break the tape. You're gonna run through the tape, so to speak, and I think the participation is really good for democracy.
Now the party gets underway here in about an hour and a half, and some other big names from the statewide ticket will be here as well for the Republicans. Attorney General candidate Tom Leonard and Secretary of State candidate Mary Tretter-Lang also going to be here tonight, and we will as well, following all of the action here on Wood TV and on woodtv.com. Back to you guys.
All right, Evan Dean with the Attorney General tonight as they're waiting for those returns to start coming in.
Yes,
Thank
it'll
you,
be a big night. Evan, thank you. 24-hour News 8's Heather Walker is in Detroit tonight with Democratic candidate for governor Gretchen Whitmer. Heather?
That's right. This party is about to get started in about an hour. Now, we were unable to speak with Whitmer this evening, but we did catch up with her earlier today in East Lansing while she was casting her8, and she was very confident, and it makes sense. She comes with 14 years of experience in the state legislature. She won all 83 counties in the state, a first for a Democratic primary victory, running on a platform of improving Michigan's fundamentals, roads, schools, and water systems.
I jumped in early and I got into all 83 counties well before the primary, and when you do that, it really does help you stay tethered to the things that matter to people. I don't have to guess what's on people's mind. I'm talking and listening and learning and building plans that solve problems, and so I think that was the critical thing, that kept our messaging focused on the things that really matter and kept me focused on it.
And we will stay focused on the candidate. Late polls do show that she is ahead, but of course, anything can happen on Election Day. Reporting live in Detroit, Heather Walker, 24-hour News 8.
Okay, Heather, thank you for the live report. Also on the ballot today across the state, 3 big proposals: the legalization of marijuana, redistricting, and voting rights.
24-hour News 8's Marvis Herring joins us now from Lansing with a breakdown of each. Marvis.
And that proposal many of you at home are watching closest is that first one you saw on the back of your ballot to legalize recreational marijuana. And you can see the stage is set here at the Radisson Hotel in Lansing for the Yes on Prop 1 watch party. Many people are waiting to see what happens, and a lot of the advocates who are expected to come here, we're expecting about 150 people to show up. According to organizers, a yes on Proposal 1 would legalize marijuana for use anyone 21 and up. up. The spokesperson for the Yes on One proposal just told me a little while ago that the polls show people in Michigan between 21 and 30 are eager to vote yes on this. He's hoping that they showed up at the polls earlier today. He told me with Canada's legalization of pot, now is the time for Michigan to act. Why do you think it is important to have this conversation and have this vote now?
Well, we're wasting $90 million a year enforcing a failed policy of marijuana prohibition, and polls across the country show that 66% of voters want to see marijuana legalized and regulated. If we don't get on top of this now with some strong regulations, it's going to get too far beyond us.
And here are the other two proposals now on your screen. Proposal 2 would create a balanced commission to draw district boundaries for the State House and Senate, as well as the U.S. Congress. And the third proposal, if you're a U.S. citizen, Prop 3 would automatically register you to vote whenever you apply or update your driver's license or state ID. You could also opt out of doing that. And you could also get an absentee ballot without providing any reason of why you need this. As far as legalizing recreational marijuana, cities would have control to ban the sale of marijuana, for example, in their area. We told you last week several West Michigan cities are considering making ordinances to do that. But as far as the campaign here, they're hoping that this passes tonight. We'll be here and let you know what happens. The watch party begins at 7:30. We're live in Lansing. Marvis Herring, 24-Hour News 8.
In Washington, a lot of people are keeping a close eye on Michigan's U.S. Senate race tonight.
Republican John James versus Democratic incumbent U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow. James is a 37-year-old Army veteran. Stabenow has been a U.S. Senator since 2000, when she made history as the first woman from Michigan elected to the U.S. Senate.
Both candidates are in Detroit tonight, and our team coverage continues with Lindsay McComel with the Stabenow camp this evening. Lindsay?
Brian and Sue, good evening. Of course, Stabenow ending her campaign today. She actually voted absentee, so she ended up hitching a ride on the Whitmer bus earlier today as Gretchen Whitmer voted in the polls in East Lansing. Now, she has said that she's always advocated for veterans. That's why she should maintain her U.S. Senate seat. She has been there for 18 years, and that's one of the reasons why John James has argued that it is time for someone new to take over, saying that she's become complacent when it comes to a lot of issues, specifically our veterans. So we'll see how voters sided with that argument tonight. We'll be here in Detroit and bring you the very latest as we get those results. Back to you.
Okay, Lindsay, looking forward to it. Thank you. Susan Samples continues our live team coverage in Detroit. She is with the challenger, Republican John James. Susan?
Good evening from the John James campaign, a race folks here are hoping will be the surprise upset of the evening, and they note that Michigan voters have been known to deliver unexpected results. We are here at the James International Group. This is where the watch party will take place. This is the family business of the James. John James has been running it. He is no stranger. He's a first-time candidate, but he's no stranger to high stakes, high pressure. He's a combat veteran who flew Apache helicopters in the Iraq War and also has been running the family business, as I mentioned. He has trailed U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow, but he has chopped her lead down to single digits at this point, and folks here are hoping that he can be the one who beats her in the surprise victory of the night, which it would be because he's a first-time candidate, doesn't have the name recognition, and of course Stabenow has been a three-time senator. We will be here throughout the night to see if John James' campaign can deliver on what they hope will be the surprise upset. Live in Detroit, Susan Samples, 24-Hour News 8.